Hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming down on your Sunday afternoon to listen to us nerdy scientists and try and explain to you what it is that we do with our time. So yes, I'm Jo. I'm an associate professor at Curtin University. I work as a physical activity researcher. So you know what that means, don't you? Yeah. I've been tracking all of you. Since the minute you walked in that door, I know exactly how many minutes you've been sitting for. I know exactly how many active minutes you've got today, and I know who hasn't closed their rings. I like to think of myself as a professional stalker, but not the creepy kind, more like Santa Claus, but without diabetes and with step counts instead of presents. I watch you when you're sleeping. I watch you when you're awake. I know that you got up at midnight, and I know you had that extra bit of cake. So you're probably wondering, how did I end up here, your friendly neighborhood stalker? I used to work on a fascinating study called the Birth to 20 study in South Africa, where I tracked the health of babies from when they were born until the age of 20. And I used to use wearable devices like Fitbits and smartwatches and sleep apps to do this. Now, I put those devices on everyone, and I measure absolutely everything I possibly can. My work focuses on three things: how much we move, how much we sit, and how much we sleep, or don't sleep. And when I first started doing physical activity research, I used to use health surveys or questionnaires quite a lot. I'm sure many of you have completed these surveys. We're really good at guessing about how long we spend in different forms of activities. Sitting is notoriously difficult to recall. People vastly underestimate how much time they spend sitting. Phones? Don't get me started. If I was to ask you, how long do you think you've spent on your phone today? You'd probably say 30 minutes, maybe an hour. If I asked your phone, it would tell me, what are you talking about? You picked me up 587 times and we watched an entire series on Netflix together. Now, for some reason, people find it easier to recall activities that get them hot and sweaty and huffy and puffy. It's like movement and physical activity. But thankfully, we've now got trackers, and they make my life a lot easier because they give me minute by minute, second by second, cold, hard truths about how lazy your Sunday's actually been. Trackers also make you happy. Look at this guy. Look how delighted he is. All of his trackers telling him he's met his 10,000 steps, he's closed his rings. Now, a couple of years ago, my family and I moved to Australia with our young children. And when we got here, we saw this poster everywhere we went, this no hat, no play. It was so confusing, we just couldn't figure it out. What were these Australians doing? Was this their policy to get children not to play? Just take your hat off and then you can't play. We just couldn't understand it. My kids were confused. You see, my work with physical activity data and trackers has made me a little bit movement obsessed. So my poor kids, they've grown up with a different rule in the house. No wearable, no play. In fact, my poor teenage daughter, she literally just swam to Rottnest Island a couple of weeks ago. She swam 20 kilometers in the ocean just to get away from me for the afternoon. But don't worry, obviously, I stuck a tracker on her so that I could at least analyze her physical activity data. When people hear what I research, they often have this quiet existential crisis. Yeah, they come to me, Jo, they say, I went for a walk this morning, I went for a run, but I forgot my tracker, I forgot my smartwatch. Did I even move? Does it even count? Was it all a lie? I just tell them, shame. I'm South African. You're gonna just have to do it again, so the steps actually count. Here in Australia, I work for a study basically like Big Brother, where I track and stalk thousands of people every single day. I make measurements of thousands of Australians and I put trackers and wearables and gadgets on all parts of them and measure anything that they'll consent to. It's very like Big Brother, just more Fitbits and fewer shower scenes. I know when they're sleeping, I know when they're moving, and I know when they're binging on the latest Netflix series. But the coolest part about this study, it's called the RAIN study, and it is helping doctors and policymakers shape health advice that's grounded in real life, not just in guesswork surveys or lab experiments. And so tonight I want to tell you a little bit about some of the cool things that we've been discovering. I mentioned to you earlier that I've been tracking you. So if your watch has told you you've had a very lazy Sunday, it's probably true. Here is the data. Can you believe that you guys have spent 60% of today just wondering where the hell the day has gone? Turns out sometimes doing nothing is a full-time job. And so now that I've admitted to stalking thousands of people, let's have a look at some of the findings. Meet the beautiful RAIN cohort. This is a study that has tracked thousands of people. I've been following 2,500 people through all stages of life. Birth, childhood, awkward adolescence, their first bad dance moves at their wedding. And we're starting to move away from surveys now and getting trackers and devices and real objective measurements on all of these participants. It's giving us minute-by-minute proof that adulting often involves a lot more sitting than running marathons. Unless you're having a midlife crisis and you've entered an Ironman or some other crazy event, then maybe it's more marathons for you than sitting. The amazing part about the RAIN study, it's based right here in Perth, home to beautiful beaches, adorable quackers, world-class science. And the coolest thing is RAIN is real. It's messy and it's wonderful, and it's giving us one of the richest and longest running movement data sets here on Earth. So what happens when you track people over 3 decades? The first thing is we are moving less than ever, and it's starting a whole lot earlier. When our RAIN participants were teenagers, many of them easily met their physical activity goals. But as they've moved into their 20s and their 30s, jobs, life, Netflix, you know how it goes. Most of them are sitting in excess of 10 hours per day. So if sitting was a professional sport or an Olympic sport, we'd be doing really well. But here's the real power of tracking and seeing participants year after year, is that it's not one simple story for everybody. There are multiple paths or trajectories, and these develop based on our repeated habits, our repeated choices that we make over time. So some of our participants have remained really active. Some have had this gradual decline in activity. Some look like they're about to fall off the cliff. But it's not just exercise. It's sleep patterns, and it's stress, and it's sleeping, and it's sitting. And they all weave together over time to shape where you might land in later on in life, which is hopefully more like this guy and less like this cat. This is why it matters, because of course we know movement is good for mental and physical health. But when we track people over time, we see how these little things stack up. Not moving enough, sitting too much. Over time, these patterns quietly knit their way into higher rates of depression and anxiety and burnout. So it's not just that one lazy Sunday that gets you, it's the 1,000 quiet Mondays that follow. Movement's not the only behavior that I track. There's another important daily habit that leaves a much bigger footprint on our health than many of us realize. It's called sleep. Or depending on the day, it's called doom scrolling, napping at your desk, or being one of those people that says, I only need 4 hours sleep a night. In the RAIN study, I've seen that poor sleep habits that you develop during your teenage years don't magically fix themselves by 25 or 30 or 35. It turns out becoming a responsible adult doesn't mean you just go to bed at 9 p.m. and wake up feeling refreshed. Those bad habits follow you around like emotional baggage. Poor sleep is not just about feeling groggy. It's linked to higher rates of depression, anxiety, and even heart disease. But without detailed tracking, we wouldn't know this, because it's not one bad night that matters. It's 1,000 bad nights stacked up over time. But it's not all doom and gloom. I'm here to tell you the power of tracking and looking at trends in data. We can use them as signposts that sometimes it's time to change course or make a change. and it's never too late to make a change. For example, you could stand up once an hour, or at least stand up when your pizza delivery arrives. So yes, I moved from South Africa to Perth with the dream of stalking thousands of strangers. And now I spend my days decoding movement data, hunting for naps, and turning smartwatch data into health insights. I'm measuring it minute by minute. I'm not relying on surveys and guesswork anymore. And what I've learned is changing what we understand about physical activity in schools, in homes, in hospitals, and in entire communities. So next time your watch buzzes and says it's time to move, please don't ignore it. It's probably me at Curtin, silently judging you, nudging you, encouraging you, and maybe channeling your future self, who's a little bit more active and a bit more smug about closing your rings. Thank you.